Tuesday, September 24, 2019, and this is Globespan 24x7 News. Good evening and thanks for joining us. My name is Samuel Suknandin, coming to you live from Georgetown, Guyana. Here are the major headlines for today. President Granger to address the nation on election tomorrow. Jack Deal says no harm will befall the president during peace PPPC protests. ICJ to hear ban of Venezuela border controversy case in March 2020. Convicted drug trafficker Shahid Roger-Khan released on bail. And two missing Suriname businesswomen dead after escalated boat collision. Over to you, Whitney.
Thank you, Samuel. And now for regional and international headlines for today. Authorities warn of an active volcano site in Trinidad and Tobago. Supreme Court rules suspension of the United Kingdom's parliament unlawful. Israel in talks about a coalition government. And a 5.8 magnitude earthquake rocks eastern Pakistan. These stories and more in just a little while. Let's join Kingsley Bryan for more news and sports.
Thanks, Whitney. In sports, the GFF participates in CONCACAF's workshop in Panama City. And of course, we have to turn our attention to CPL, where I tell you that the Tallawahs recorded their second CPL win after defeating the Barbados Tridents. And internationally, doping compliance proceedings have officially been opened against Russia. Back to you, Samuel.
Thanks, Kingsley. And now for a look at the news. President David Granger will address the Guyanese nation on Wednesday evening regarding general and regional elections almost 1 week after GCOM presented a timeline for the holding of elections. According to the Department of Public Information, the president today met with his cabinet and discussed the issue of holding credible and general regional elections in Guyana at the earliest time possible. Based on those discussions, President Granger has decided to address the nation tomorrow evening. A time for that address has not yet been confirmed, but persons will be advised. The president had repeatedly stated that he was not in the position to name an election date unless GCOM names a time frame. That time frame was given since last Thursday by GCOM chairwoman, retired Justice Claudette Singh, who declared that the commission will be ready by February 2020. Aside from that, the Guyanese leader had stated his excitement about naming an election date. He also told the press recently that he feels restricted given the government's interim or caretaker status. Several international bodies and countries, including the Commonwealth of Nations, the European Union, the United States, and the United Kingdom have all labeled the government unconstitutional. It now marks over 9 months since a no-confidence motion was passed against his government. The Constitution stipulates that elections must be held within 3 months of the passage of such a motion. Meanwhile, leader of Ghana's political opposition, Barra Jack Dio, during an interview with a local radio program, said that although a call was issued to protest the president, it wasn't the route the party actually wanted to take. Jack Dio said the actuality is that the situation is dire and requires what the party views as an unusual approach.
We're not excited about protesting the president and an illegal government. We view it as a tragedy every time we have to protest to get people who took an oath to uphold the Constitution, trying to force them to do so. So it's a tragedy for Guyana. It is a problem for our country when you have to force people to respect the Constitution and the ruling of the court.
Jagdio said their protest actions are not done with excitement or for the PPP, but in representation of sacred laws of Guyana, the Constitution, and the very citizens it is meant to protect and enable, inclusive of APNU, AFC supporters. The opposition leader said the PPP took the esteemed road when it comes to these activities.
And we had a choice about these protests. We could have done mass activities, but we are mindful that mass activities are very harmful and disruptive to the lives of ordinary citizens. So if you block a road, say in a stronghold of the PPP, say in Berbice, and nobody could pass the road, bring 10,000 people on the road, which we're capable of doing. But who will it affect? It will affect people, ordinary people. It would affect business, etc.
Further, Jagdeo said the party's strategy is to stay away from commercial districts as was obtained in the past. He added that contrary to public opinions, the protests are meant to target the president as an individual.
We are targeting President Granger not because he's a horrible individual. We're targeting President Granger or the caretaker President Granger because he has refused to abide by our Constitution. He has refused to abide by the ruling of the court. And he keeps making excuses to illegally squat on the seat in the seat of government.
Jagdeo said the process will continue in an effort to make life uncomfortable for the administration and are in no way meant to incite violence. This announcement comes on the heels of the Ghana Police Force declaring that it will not tolerate disruptive actions across the country. Just this morning, the force said several intersections surrounding the Ministry of the Presidency were blocked due to threats received. It should be noted that the erected barricades served to make it inaccessible to the Ministry of the Presidency, where President Granger met with his cabinet today. But this is not sitting well with the opposition leader, who said the police are not to be blamed in any way, and this new dynamic is nothing but an inconvenience.
He has put the country, he should be embarrassed, not the police. So now instead of, to address Granger's embarrassment, thousands of Guyanese now will be discomforted. You can't drive home properly because the police said we don't want to be blamed again because he was embarrassed the last time. So we'll block you off the whole road. We'll block you off going home. It doesn't matter. And a good 300-400 of our policemen are dedicated now to protect Granger from embarrassment, not from harm, physical harm, because the PP will never do that.
The opposition leader stressed that the PPP will never engage its members or supporters in violent protest actions. Meanwhile, the Ghana Elections Commission, GECOM, following its weekly statutory meeting today, announced that the commission will begin the next period of claims and objections from October 1. GECOM commissioners following the meeting relayed to members of the media that the decision was taken unanimously to commence the process, which will last for 35 days, after which the voters list will be prepared. To this end, government-nominated Commissioner Vincent Alexander said the commission determined December 31 will be the qualifying date for elections. The claims and objections exercise will allow persons above 18 years who are not on the National Register of Registrants to be registered. It also allows persons to change their addresses and other details so that they can vote at the next general and regional elections. Following an earlier meeting, the Commission had noted that it currently has staff working 3 complete shifts to ensure the encoding process, which will allow for the merging of data from the house-to-house registration process with the National Register of Registrants. Alexander also informed the media that the Commission took it upon itself to engage the United States and the Commonwealth as advisors for GECOM. GECOM has indicated to the President that it will be ready to hold elections by the end of February 2020. The Private Sector Commission, PSC of Ghana, on Monday joined calls for President David Granger to name an election date. The PSC, in a statement, urged the President to immediately name a date, given that the Ghana Elections Commission has specified a timeline. According to the PSC, it cannot emphasize strongly enough that any further delay on the part of the President to name an election date will significantly exacerbate the already considerable harm that has been done to Ghana's credibility as a country no longer committed to the rule of law and constitutional probity. Open quote. The PSC wishes to remind that a statement from the international community has in fact emphasized that Ghana's economic development and the ability of those countries to support our development needs is now dangerously compromised. The PSC must point out that the consequence of doing business under a government shorn on its constitutional authority becomes virtually impossible due to the premiums placed on international equity and borrowings and the demands for compliance with procedures of international financial institutions, end quote, the statement added. The statement went on to remind that a number of months have passed since the no confidence motion was successfully passed in the National Assembly last year. It says, and I quote, the private sector believes it is to be unfortunate that since the no confidence motion was validly passed some 9 months ago, that the country has been subjected to a series of unwarranted delays from honoring the constitutional requirement to have held elections within 3 months of the motion being passed in that assembly, end quote. It also called out other international and regional bodies for being completely silent about or during Guyana's constitutional crisis. The Caribbean Community CARICOM and the Organization of American States, OAS, were listed for failing to address or take action against the current political and democratic situation. The Association for Democracy and Human Rights, Guyana, along with opposition People's Progressive Party supporters, on Monday evening held a candlelight vigil and protest as President David Granger attended the 70th anniversary celebration of the founding of the People's Republic of China. Shakima Day was there and filed this report.
Staying true to their word of taking the protest wherever the president goes, opposition People's Progressive Party supporters last evening partnered with the Association for Democracy and Human Rights Guyana and held a candlelight vigil and protested, reiterating their call for an election date to be announced. The president was at the time attending the 70th anniversary celebration of the founding of the People's Republic of China at the Arthur Chung Convention Center. The protest was spread out to 3 areas as police in riot gear cordoned off a wide section, preventing the protesters and even reporters from getting close to the convention center.
What we want! Election! 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 So whether it's day or night, wherever he's located, we will find him.
PPP presidential candidate Irfan Ali expressed concerns over the heavy security for a candlelight vigil.
Immediately. What we found tonight when he came was a most disturbing situation. The sweet scent of democracy has been overtaken by the sour stench of dictatorship. That is what has happened in our country today. Look at the level of force that is used against peaceful Guyanese with a candlelight in their hands in support of democracy.
PPPC's frontman Bharat Jagdeo was also on the protest line. He told the media that the president was blatantly turning a deaf ear to the Constitution.
We have gone beyond constitutional rule and that it would affect all of our country. The statement from the US and the others pointed out how it would affect our economy, investments, international assistance. And yet, this president, having said to the nation that all he is doing is waiting on GCOM to inform him about a date for elections, is still unprepared to call an early election. And we want an early election called now by Granger, not any election date, because that's what I think they want to hang on to and probably let the time drift again, so that he thinks that we may not be able to sustain this.
The protest remained peaceful until residents from the area came and belted out explicits on the protesters. Members of the international community, the Commonwealth, AmCham, the Guyana Bar Association and the Private Sector Commission have issued similar calls for election date to be named. Reporting for Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day.
And in other news, a woman is now dead while 2 persons are missing following a head-on boat collision late Monday evening. The woman has been identified as 54-year-old Sherry Khan of Suriname. 5 persons were said to be injured but were later cleared of danger. According to reports received, the passenger vessel left the Perica Stellin on the east bank of Essequibo just after 1700 hours, with a now dead woman and 8 persons on board. One of the boats was reportedly headed to Bokhol, while the other in the opposite direction. The boat was captained by 45-year-old Devendra Singh of Greenwich Park on the east bank of Essequibo. It was unclear what caused the collision, but Globespan 24x7 News understands that a boat propeller may have chopped the businesswoman during the incident. The injured persons were taken to the Carthage and West Demerara regional hospitals. A search party has since been dispatched to locate the missing persons, but no one has been found. Investigations are continuing. Given recent disclosures by the Integrity Commission that several high-ranking public officials must declare their assets as required by law, the AFC at its recent press conference says it aims to be compliant but needs clarity on a few issues resulting from the process. Kingsley Bryan tells us more.
At a press conference held at the party's headquarters, when questioned on their status with their declarations to the Integrity Commission, the members of the AFC, Chairman Cameron Ramjatan, declared that he has always been forthcoming with his declaration.
In August 20, I generally send my declaration as they have been doing per annum, and that is the 2018 one. I will certainly, if there's a notification for the August deadline, I will certainly do the one for 2019.
At that instance, the deadline for 2019 declarations had expired, but the minister committed to having it done. Minister Cathy Hughes said while she has been compliant with the submissions, there are a few things she needs clarified.
That I have written to the Integrity Commission now, one correspondence since last year, and one about 3 months ago, and I still haven't gotten a response. In fact, I also have a correspondence on issues regarding the operations of the Integrity Commission that I first wrote in 2012, and I still have not gotten a response, although I could show you I have acknowledgements to the letter. And I only raise that because it's something I feel very strongly about.
The AFC executive continued that as a citizen who is willing to declare her assets, then her queries and concerns should also be addressed.
And say the kinds of questions that I have asked should be policy issues for the Integrity Commission. And therefore, if they can write me a letter and say that we acknowledge receipt of your letter, they certainly can add the 3 paragraphs and answer the question. I don't think in my particular situation it's a matter of funding.
Hughes' comments are in light of the Commission detailing their financial woes. Nonetheless, Public Security Minister Cameron Ramjatan said the government intends to address the concerns raised by the Commission.
That it goes there as a constitutional agency.
While a few persons from the opposition PPP have declared their assets, some are still to do so. The main purpose of the Integrity Commission is to scrutinize public officers to ensure that they do not use their offices for financial gain. Under the law, public officers, including the President, Permanent Secretaries, Director of Public Prosecutions, Auditor General, Commissioner of the Police, the Army Chief, heads of the Service Commissions, Foreign Affairs officials, judges and magistrates, and departmental heads are required to declare their assets to the Commission. Also required to submit declaration forms of their earnings and gifts received are regional executive officers, the chief elections officer, mayors, chairpersons, and chief executive officers of state companies, registrars of lands, and the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, along with presidential advisors and heads of the Ghana Geology and Mines Commission and the Ghana Forestry Commission. Globespan 24x7 News made contact with the Commission to get some clarity on the situation, but was unable to speak with any senior official. For Globespan 24x7 News, this is Kingsley Bryan.
Thanks, Kingsley. Remember to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest news in Ghana, the Caribbean, and around the world. Join us after these messages for more news with Shakima Day.
Travelspan is pleased to announce special fares from New York to Guyana for Christmas. Seats are available to travel, and depending on which dates you choose, fares range from $8.49 to $11.69. These are limited block seats on American Airlines non-stop flight from JFK to Guyana. Call 718-845-0437. That's 718-845-0437. Or book online at travelspan.com. Travelspan does have a payment plan, so travel plans, call Travelspan. We would like to ask all of our faithful viewers to kindly like and follow Globespan 24x7 Facebook page and subscribe to Globespan 24x7 YouTube channel to receive up-to-date notifications of when we are live. Globespan 24x7 has vacancies for full-time positions such as reporters, newscasters, and news editors. Persons serious about joining a new and dynamic news team are asked to send their application to careers@globespantechnology.com.
Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. We'll tell you now that convicted drug trafficker Shahid Roger Khan was released from police custody today after being detained for more than the mandatory 72 hours since he was taken into police custody early Saturday. More in this report.
Roger Khan's attorney, Glenn Hanuman, has since relayed that his client was released on $200,000 station bail and has been ordered to report to the Criminal Investigations Department next week. Hanuman said that his client was not charged with any offense. Following his arrival and subsequent detention, Hanuman had expressed that the move may have been political, since there is no evidence to suggest that his client was involved in any murders. Shortly after his arrival in Guyana, after being deported from the United States, Khan was whisked away by ranks of the Ghana Police Force, who later relayed to Khan's attorney that he was being held for questioning into the September 2005 murder of well-known boxing coach Donald Allison and the murder of political activist Ronald Waddell, who was killed in January 2006. Allison was killed outside the Ricola Boxing Gym in Agricola on the east bank of Demerara on September 8, 2005. While Waddell was gunned down execution style outside his Sobrianville, Georgetown residence on January 30, 2006. On Saturday last, Khan's attorney had indicated that he was informed by senior police ranks and officials at the office of the DPP that the police are without substantial evidence that can directly link Khan to any other crime, and as such, he was anticipating his release from custody. The issue first came to the fore on June 15, 2006, after Khan, along with 3 of his bodyguards, were arrested by Surinamese police in an apparent sting operation in Paramaribo. Surinamese officials had relayed that Khan's arrest resulted in the country seeing their largest drug haul for that period, after confiscating over 200 kilograms of cocaine during the operation. Things took an unanticipated turn when, instead of being deported to Guyana, Khan was flown to Trinidad, where he was directly handed over to the U.S. authorities. In October 2009, Khan was sentenced in a Brooklyn courtroom to 40 years imprisonment for trafficking large amounts of cocaine in the United States of America, witness tampering, and illegal firearm possession. The sentences were ordered to be served concurrently, which meant that he was only expected to serve 15 years. But he spent less than 10 years behind bars and was ordered deported. After serving his sentence, Khan was officially released from prison on July 8, 2019, and placed in the custody of the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, and was being held at the Chrome Detention Facility in Miami before his deportation. Khan's trial in the U.S., though revealing, veered away from the murders he may or may not have committed and centered mainly on his drug trafficking ring. The rest is nothing but speculation, since established commission of inquiries have failed to link Khan to the murder of Waddell. For Globespan 24x7 News, Kingsley Bryan.
Thank you, Kingsley. Investigations are currently ongoing into the death of former chairman of the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority, Hugh Denbo. It was reported that the 63-year-old man was discovered by police lying in an unconscious state on the kitchen floor of his Lot 1 Area D Plantations of Fire, Greater Georgetown home on Monday morning. Information received revealed that the man, who lived alone, was bound by the neck, hands and feet, while his entire house was ransacked. There are suspicions that he may have been in that position since Saturday, as he was last seen on Friday by residents in the area. The manager of Orange Development Inc., where Denbo was employed as an engineer, alerted the police after calls to his phone went unanswered. Police, along with the manager, ventured to his home and made the shocking discovery. Police stated that while there was no evidence of forced entry into the home, a southern door was discovered open. He was rushed to the Georgetown Public Hospital, where he received treatment, but subsequently died on Monday evening. You'll hear now that after several months since an application was made with the International Court of Justice, the court has responded announcing the oral hearing in the Guyana-Venezuela border controversy will commence in March 2020. Find out more in this report. The International Court of Justice issued an announcement that the oral hearing for the Guyana-Venezuela border controversy will begin March next year to determine whether the court has legal jurisdiction over the case filed by Guyana. In the official statement released by the Foreign Affairs Ministry earlier today, it highlighted that the government welcomes the notification by the ICJ, open quote, that the oral hearing on jurisdiction in its case against Venezuela will be held in The Hague from March 23rd to the 27th, 2020, close quote. Guyana is seeking to obtain from the court a final and binding judgment that the 1899 arbitral award, which established the location of the land boundary between then British Guyana and Venezuela, remains valid and binding, and that Guyana's Essequibo region belongs to Guyana and not Venezuela. It was mentioned that Guyana brought its case to the court following the decision by the Secretary General of the United Nations in January 2018 that the controversy between Guyana and Venezuela should be decided by the International Court of Justice. In taking his decision, the Secretary General was exercising the power vested in him in the 1966 Geneva Agreement between Guyana, Venezuela, and the United Kingdom to decide how the controversy should be settled. Venezuela has claimed in a letter to the court that the Secretary General exceeded his authority under the Geneva Agreement and that the court therefore lacks jurisdiction to adjudicate Guyana's lawsuit. On this basis, Venezuela has indicated that it will not participate in the proceedings. On November 19, 2018, Guyana submitted its memorial to the court refuting Venezuela's arguments and demonstrating that the court has jurisdiction. Under well-established judicial precedent, the court will proceed to decide if it has jurisdiction over Guyana's claims, irrespective of whether or not Venezuela participates in the proceedings. The statement highlighted that if the ICJ decides that it has jurisdiction, open quote, the court will proceed to rule on its merits of those claims and decide whether the validity of the 1899 arbitral award and the border between the two states should be confirmed, end quote. Guyana is hoping that Venezuela participates, indicating their respect for the court and international rule of law, peaceful settlements of disputes, and the promotion of friendly relations between states. For Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day. You'll hear now that 32-year-old Neville Thomas was on Tuesday remanded to prison after he was charged with the rape of a 12-year-old schoolgirl. Thomas appeared before Chief Magistrate Anne McLennan to answer to the charge. It was alleged that between April and May of 2019 at a location on the east bank of Demerara, he engaged in sexual penetration of a child below the age of 16. Reports reveal that Thomas works at a popular taxi service and is known to both the victim and her parents. During the period mentioned, the accused picked up the child from school and took her to an hotel where he engaged in the act. The matter was reported and Thomas was subsequently arrested. He was not required to plead to the charge read to him and was remanded to prison until October 3, 2019, where he will make his next court appearance. Natural Resources Minister Rafael Trotman said that one of the major challenges faced in the extractive sector is dealing with environmental aspects. Appearing as a guest on a radio program, he pointed out in this regard the ministry continues to advocate for a safer, more responsible mining sector.
Extract the resources, but do so in a sustainable manner, bearing in mind that the environment is going to be disturbed And by the environment, I mean not just the earth or the waters, but more importantly, the people who live in communities near to where the extractive industries function.
Trotman explained that there is always constant tension between actual development and the conservation of those very resources that are being extracted. He said the ministry has the added task of remaining vigilant at all times despite fulfilling their normal mandate.
Our job is to manage the pace of development, and we do so, of course, by ensuring that there are roads into the different mining and forest areas or concessions. We ensure, of course, working in tandem with the EPA, GGMC, that turbidity of water is kept to a minimum, that's the disturbance, that the use of mercury is not widespread and rampant and therefore destructive. We try to ensure that communities are consulted.
The Natural Resources Minister further acknowledged that while all the undertakings of the ministry are not attainable, advice and criticisms all form the foundation upon which the ministry is built. Trotman said while efforts are being made to ensure all practices fall under the President's policy of green and sustainable mining, extra care has to be taken to ensure that while the economy is built from the extractive sectors, a consensuous approach has to be taken.
We hope to do so in a respectful manner. We hope to, as best as we can, reclaim the lands which have been disturbed, and more we want to focus on the people who are affected, the communities, the men, the women, the children who have to use the very waters for life, to drink, to cook with, to bathe, to wash clothes. And so our job is to ensure that even as we push the extraction, we don't do so in a callous manner and in a manner which, as I said, disrespects or desecrates the environment. And
Minister Trotman reiterated that the aim is to ensure that the extractive industry operates within the context of the Green State Development Strategy as it oversees the industries countrywide. We'll tell you now that another batch of adolescent mothers is being given the opportunity to return to school in a move by the Education Ministry. It follows the reintegration of several mothers in 2018 and earlier in 2019 at the Carnegie School of Home Economics. We'll tell you more in this report. Over 70 adolescent mothers were on Monday afforded the opportunity to complete their education and receive life skills at the Carnegie School of Home Economics as part of the coalition government's policy to ensure the development of women and girls in Guyana. The orientation ceremony held under the theme, Young Mothers on the Move, I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become. The mothers were encouraged to not let obstacles prevent them from reaching their goals. Principal of Carnegie, Myrna Lee, in her remarks stated that the school has developed special programs to contribute to the literacy and competency of teen mothers.
Carnegie School of Home Economics, like all other TVET institutions, have been mandated to fulfill 5 thematic goals, namely, to train students in all aspects of production for work, to create linkages with related institutions, to create an awareness of all the programs and services offered by the institution.
Meanwhile, Education Minister Nicolette Henry was slated to deliver the feature address to the mothers, but was unable to be present. Instead, her remarks were made by the coordinator of the Health and Family Life Education Program at the Ministry of Education, Colleen Cameron. The minister urged students to grasp the second chance to complete their studies, affording them the opportunity to get back on the path to self-development.
This occasion presents an excellent opportunity for me to salute you, young mothers, who have taken this challenge, which will seek to empower you and will effect social change in the communities in which you are from.
The batch of 75 young women brings the Reintegration tally up to 225 adolescent mothers who are more equipped with skills and education as a result of the policy championed by the Minister of Education, Nicolette Henry. The adolescent mothers will be taking courses in fabric decoration, elementary cookery, and cake decoration. The reintegration is facilitated primarily by the Health and Family Life Education Unit within the Ministry of Education. For Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day. Parent involvement is the key to the improvement of educational outcomes. Recognizing this, the Ministry of Education today held a parent seminar at the North Rumpelt Secondary School to engage the parents, guardians, and teachers. In attendance were representatives of each of the parent-teacher associations of each nursery, primary, and secondary schools in the Georgetown Education District. This move, which was commended by all present. Speaking to the parents present, Education Minister Nicolette Henry explained the seriousness in which the ministry takes its role in the process of educating Guyana's future. Open quote, "Parents are a very important stakeholder in the delivery of education. It takes all of us to make the education system work," end quote, Minister Henry added. Chief Education Officer Dr. Marcel Hudson underscored the ministry's commitment to engaging parents as the ministry works to ensure higher educational standards. The event comes on the heels of the historic improvements seen in the last academic year at the NGSA, CXC, and CAPE. Earlier this year, Guyana copped the highest pass rate for the first time ever in the Caribbean at the CSEC examination, demonstrating the results of serious investments made in education by the coalition government. If you have any news story to share, don't hesitate to contact us on our Guyana WhatsApp number at 592-640-7615. Now let's take a look at our bridge reports. We'll now take a short commercial break and be right back. Do stay tuned.
Amro's Travel Service is pleased to support Globespan 24x7 broadcasts. We provide travel solutions via our 4 locations in Trinidad. Chaguanas at 665-3383, Valpa 645-1604, Port of Spain 625-0800, and San Fernando at 652-4789. Remember, when you travel, Amro's is the way to go.
Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. Let's join Whitney Prasad at our studio in New York for regional and international news.
Thank you, Shakima. And now for the news and details, let's take a look at what's happening in the region. In Trinidad and Tobago, the national security agencies have been monitoring ongoing activities at the Piparo mud volcano site, which began showing heightened activity on Saturday night. The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management, ODPM, has been in consultation with the disaster management units of the Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government and with Mr. Xavier Munan, Senior Geoscientist at Touchstone Exploration. Munan has conducted numerous tests at the site as well as drone surveys to produce a 3D mapping of the area. Residents have also been consulted on the increased activities. Officers from the Princestown Fire Station, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, DTPS, and municipal police have cordoned off the area to prevent members of the public from entering the space. The area is now closed to vehicular and pedestrian traffic. The DTPS has also increased patrols in the area. A whistleblower has brought to light concerns about the training requirements for Boeing 737 MAX pilots. Investigators examining the complaint have concluded that safety inspectors were themselves underqualified and that Federal Aviation Administration provided misleading information about the issue to Congress. This is according to the Washington Post. Questions about safety oversight at the FAA have been added to concerns raised by the U.S. Office of Special Counsel after two new 737 MAX jets it had certified as safe crashed in Indonesia and Ethiopia, killing 346 people. In a letter to President Trump on Monday, Special Counsel Henry J. Kerner wrote that the FAA's official response to Congress appeared to have been misleading in their portrayal of FAA employee training and competency. In a statement, the FAA said, quote, "We are reviewing the Special Counsel's letter. We remain confident in our representations to Congress and in the work of our aviation safety professionals. Aviation safety is always our foremost priority, and we look forward to responding to the concerns that have been raised," end quote. And now for a look at news in Canada. A federal election debate in foreign policy has been cancelled because Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will not be in attendance. The Prime Minister will only be participating in 3 electoral debates this year, down from 5 in 2015. The PM's Monk debate cancellation has sparked criticisms online. Rudyard Griffiths, chair of the Monk debate, said that they never had the courtesy of a formal response from the Liberal Party in regards to Trudeau's participation and therefore had to cancel the debate, which was scheduled for the evening of October 1 at Roy Thomas Hall in Toronto. Trudeau was the only political candidate who did not respond to the invitation. And for a look at what's happening in the United Kingdom, the Supreme Court has ruled that Boris Johnson's advice to the Queen that Parliament should be prorogued for 5 weeks at the height of the Brexit crisis was unlawful. The unanimous judgment from 11 justices on the UK's highest court followed an emergency 3-day hearing last week that exposed fundamental legal differences over interpreting the country's unwritten constitution. The momentous decision was read out by Lady Hale, President of the Supreme Court. Unusually, none of the parties were provided with advanced copies of the judgment due to sensitivity. Only 7 of the 11 justices who heard the case were present in court. Speaker of the Commons John Bercow said MPs needed to return in light of the explicit judgment, and he had instructed the House of Common authorities to prepare for the resumption of business from 11:30 this Wednesday. A 5.8 magnitude earthquake has struck eastern Pakistan, killing at least 19 people and injuring more than 300, according to local officials. The quake's epicenter was close to the city of Mirpur in Pakistan's administered Kashmir. Photos circulating on social media showed a huge crack on the main road in the area and partially destroyed houses. The full extent of damage is not yet known. Thousands of people died in a powerful quake in the area in 2005. And Pakistan's military said aviation and medical support teams had been dispatched in the area. And at least 7 children were killed and dozens more injured after a school collapsed in Kenya early Monday. Precious Talent was a 2-story structure, and according to Kenya's education minister, the second level had been built without planning permission. In a split second, a wing of the private school collapsed into a pile of rubble, trapping students from the 6th, 7th, and 8th grades. The tragedy raised questions about Kenya's enforcement of building codes for schools and apartment complexes, which are often constructed by private contractors long accused of cutting corners. Nairobi News reports that the school will remain closed for the remainder of the week as an investigation into the cause of the collapse begins. And that's all for news in the region and around the world. I'm Whitney Prasad reporting from New York. Thank you for watching. Back to Samuel in Guyana. More news to come.
Thanks, Whitney. We'll now shift our attention to what's happening in sport with Kingsley Bride.
Thanks, Samuel. And in sporting news, the Ghana Football Federation in a release has noted its participation in a 2-day CONCACAF Professional Football Development Workshop being held in Panama City, Panama, from September 23 to 24, 2019. The GFF has indicated that the Federation is being represented at the workshop by Club Licensing Manager and Acting General Secretary Ian Alves. CONCACAF has since noted that the workshop will serve as a platform to provide member associations with comprehensive information on professional football matters. Among them will be a formal training on the new club licensing model on COMET, CONCACAF club competition updates, and best practices from around the world relative to infrastructure and stadium accessibility. COMET, which is the Competition Management Expert System, is a football management system aimed at improving the planning, management, and execution of CONCACAF's football operations, including refereeing, competition management, inventory, accreditation, and club licensing. The workshop is being attended by club licensing managers from CONCACAF member associations throughout the Caribbean. And in CPL news, the Jamaica Tallowers secured their second win of the 2019 Heroes CPL after successfully defending 127 all-out to stun Barbados Tridents and internationally. With less than a year to go until the 2020 Olympic Games in Tokyo, doping compliance proceedings have been opened against Russia, according to the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA. The proceedings opened against the Russian Anti-Doping Agency relate to inconsistencies in data retrieved by WADA in January 2019 from the Moscow lab at the center of the 2016 McLaren report, which uncovered a widespread and sophisticated state-sponsored doping network in Russian sport. The Russian Anti-Doping Agency were subsequently found non-compliant, leading to sanctions including no Russian team being present at the 2018 Winter Olympic Games in Pyeongchang, with certain eligible Russian athletes being forced to compete as neutral athletes. They were reinstated as compliant in September 2018 on a number of conditions. These included handing over all data from the Moscow lab, and it is this very data which WADA now suspects has been tampered with. WADA's statement further added that ensuring the authenticity of the Moscow laboratory information management system and underlying raw data was one of the critical conditions posed by EXCO for RUDASA to maintain its compliance with the code. And that's all for sports news. Join us tomorrow for more of what's happening in the sporting arena. Back to you, Samuel.
Thanks, Kingsley. And that has brought us to the end of today's news. Before we go, here's a recap of our major headlines. President Granger to address nation on election tomorrow. Jagdeo says no harm will befall the president during PPPC process. ICJ to hear Guyana-Venezuela border controversy case in March 2020. Convicted drug trafficker Shahid Roger Khan released on bail. And two missing Surinamese businesswoman dead after Essequibo boat collision. Thank you for watching Globespan 24x7 News. On behalf of myself, Samuel Zugnadid, the news and technical team, until next time, do have a pleasant rest of the evening. Goodbye for now.